Namaskar. My name is Gaurav Rathore. I have 3 decades of experience in aviation in India. I have worked with airlines as startup and when they have become leading airlines as well. As part of this, I have headed functions on commercial, on quality, customer experience. I am also the co-founder of Udyam Aviation and Aerospace. It's a specialized aviation entity dealing with consulting in training and skill development, flight operations, maintenance, and cargo operations. Today I am speaking on behalf of the series by a Global Middas Foundation on opportunities and business opportunities for entrepreneurs in India. The topic is civil aviation. To give you a context on civil aviation, in India, it can basically be divided into 3 periods. One, I would say the first one being the pre-independence era, when there were 7 or 8 private operators who had started as operating as airlines. पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस इसके बाद 1953 में एयर कॉर्पोरेशन एक्ट पास हुआ जिसमें गवर्नमेंट डिसाइडेड टू नेशनलाइज सिविल एविएशन और सिर्फ 2 एंटिटीज एयर इंडिया और इंडियन एयरलाइंस रह गए और दिस वाज बेसिकली द शेप ऑफ एविएशन टिल 1991 और 94 जब द गवर्नमेंट टुक द डिसीजन टू deregulate aviation and within this allow private airline participation. तो ये एक न्यू एरा शुरू हुआ 94 के बाद जब प्राइवेट एयरलाइंस वर अलाउड टू कम इनटू द इंडस्ट्री एंड ऑपरेट एज इंडिपेंडेंट ऑपरेटर्स, पब्लिश शेड्यूल्स एंड ऑपरेट एज इंडिपेंडेंट ऑपरेटर्स. एक लैंडमार्क ईयर आल्सो वाज अराउंड 2003 एंड 2004 जब लो कॉस्ट कैरियर्स वर अलाउड इन इंडिया एंड दिस इज व्हेन airlines like Indigo, SpiceJet, Go Air, who today dominate the market in India, were allowed to operate. Now this period, the post-91-94 period has experienced a lot of growth. To give you a sense कि कितना ये growth है और क्या था, in 1991, the size of the aviation market in India was about 13.8 million per year. This grew to about 77 million by 2010. It continued to grow. The domestic aviation in India has continued to grow during the last 10 years at about 12.8% compounded annual growth rate and is today close to 200 million. To give you a perspective of how far this is expected to sustain, by 2040 it is expected the market will once again double and India is already poised to be the 3rd largest market, civil aviation market in the world. This is reflected similarly in associated areas like cargo or non-scheduled or charter operations as well. तो अब हम बात करते हैं कि जो ये growth, the last 25 years, the growth that we have seen and the growth which is anticipated as well, उसके enablers क्या हैं, उसके drivers क्या हैं. So there are 3 main factors which have contributed to this growth and make us feel very positive about how things are going to be in the next 2 or 3 decades as well. The first part is there is a consistent and robust demand which has grown over the last 25 years and is set to continue to grow because अगर आप देखेंगे कि percentage of people who actually fly in India, that is still in single digits compared to mature economies like the US or even China where the percentage is in double digits and in the 20s or 30s. So for a country with the size of population that we have and also the geographical spread that we have, this is only a small part of the potential that we have utilized as yet. तो एक ये demand है which is going to continue in the similar trend. इसके बाद एक urbanization growth जो भी है उससे भी it continues to feed the demand. Also the young population that we have in India, the demographic spread, that also points to the fact that this demand is going to continue to grow. This is important this is reflected also in the GDP growth that we see and that will continue to remain an enabler and a driver for this growth. So the second important enabler and driver is policy support framework from consistently being provided by governments over the last few years, over the last few decades. तो ये इसमें specifically I would like to call out the उड़ान concept which has been created by the central government. इसके ऊपर इस स्कीम के ऊपर 2-3 साल काम चला and it was launched in 2016. This basically provides a framework for aviation to spread into areas which have not been connected as yet or are underserved on a viable business model. तो इसके लिए एक आपको एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट देता हूँ कि टुडे देयर आर 128 एयरपोर्ट्स इन इंडिया. Under this scheme, there are additional 198 airports which have been identified. इसमें से शॉर्ट लिस्ट करके करीब 100 एयरपोर्ट को डेवलप किया जाएगा अगले कुछ सालों में. इसके ऊपर about 400 to 500 new routes will emerge. So the process is such that in two parts, it provides subsidies as well as provides some amount of viability gap funding for these routes to be developed and stabilized over a period of 3 years by new airlines or existing airlines with specific equipment or aircraft type जिसके साथ ये new areas को develop किया जाए. And this will, this works out till the routes mature and new identified areas can be explored for additional. Now this is good not just from a tourism perspective or connectivity perspective, इससे also employment opportunities भी create होती हैं. तो एक ये उड़ान जो framework था, ये it's important part to be called out. इसके अलावा policy support also for other associated areas like cargo. Similarly, cargo के लिए भी उड़ान for agricultural produce किस तरह से fastest way में agricultural produce को पहुंचाया जा सके from the farms to the consumers. तो एक ये also there is a scheme which is worked out. In addition, there is also formation of places like Gift City for leasing or support for MRO organizations, the maintenance and repair organizations. तो ये भी policy support के framework में एक actively explored area है जिसमें development हो रहा है और support हो रहा है. इसके अलावा तीसरा factor, the third enabler or driver would be the investment in this sector. Investment coming from Indian entities as well as FDI. अब इसमें FDI का भी there are certain sectors which are direct FDI is allowed, foreign direct investment is allowed with an automatic approval. So this is possible for areas like training, areas like simulators or flight training. और इसमें this has led to significant amount of investment being made. In fact, in the development in the last decade, even in private airlines, काफी समय तक private international airlines were not allowed to invest. पर अब there is a 49% investment which is allowed through an automatic route. और इसके लिए इसका फायदा उठा के there are investments which have been made, such as Singapore Airlines or AirAsia. They have made investments in India within airlines, along with entities like the Tatas or also Jet Airways. So now let's talk about what the future looks like. I think when we talk about the future, it is important, or it's only natural that we talk about the disruption caused by COVID. This has been a very difficult period for the industry globally, not just in India. Globally, it has been a difficult period. It has been a great disruptor. But I think the basic content of humans being social animals and the fact that the humans need to connect has not changed. So, एक तरह का, while there is a lot of work from home or Zoom meetings या अलग meetings पे ही काम, calls पे ही काम हो रहा है, but I think there is more and more, there is a fatigue which is setting in, and also there is an understanding that there is a productivity loss by virtue of the fact that people are not able to meet or factories are not visited. Even tourism is seeing a rebound effect, especially domestic tourism. So I think the fact that we have to understand is that there is a rebound. There is a rebound which is already happening. It is specifically driven by tier 2, tier 3 cities, जैसा कि देखा गया है हिंदुस्तान में. Tier 2, tier 3 demand has recovered much faster than what is happening in the metros. And this is expected to continue in a similar trend, और demand इधर से ही grow करती रहेगी. Similarly, cargo has actually seen an increase. Cargo has seen an increase in the volumes that are being shipped. The whole e-commerce industry is also completely driving the cargo potential in India and abroad as well. Keeping this in mind, I think what we'll looking ahead is that there will be significant amount of growth seen in aviation, continuing with the trend, जैसा कि हमने बोला कि in the next 20 years again almost double हो जाएगा industry. इस को support करने के लिए what we will also require is a significant amount of skill development. इसमें opportunities निकलेंगी for pilots, for engineers, for ground staff and सब तरह के training infrastructure. इसमें opportunities also are for tourism development, जिसमें कि religious tourism है, tourism for places which are not connected as yet, especially areas in northeast or areas in the south, where there is still a lot of potential and connectivity at times becomes a challenge. और अब एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी है इवन इन द टूरिज्म इंडस्ट्री कि सिर्फ डेस्टिनेशन प्रमोशन से काम नहीं होता है, कनेक्टिविटी एंड डेस्टिनेशन की जब साथ बात होती है तभी प्रमोट रियली आप कर सकते हैं किसी डेस्टिनेशन को। तो एक ये टूरिज्म का डेवलपमेंट स्पेशली डोमेस्टिक व्हेन इंटरनेशनल विल टेक इवन लॉन्गर टू रिबाउंड, हम ये एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं। Just to give another statistic which is significant is, and this is a statistic shared by the Civil Aviation Ministry in India itself, aviation is basically part of infrastructure and investment in aviation has a multiplier effect on the economy. इसका मतलब एक एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे आप अगर if there is 100 rupees spent on aviation, it gives actually an output of 325 rupees, a 3 times effect, multiplier effect on other industries or associated industries. Similarly, if there are 100 direct jobs created in aviation, there is a multiplier effect and 600 indirect jobs get created. So I think this understanding that aviation is important for development of the economy is now understood, is now accepted, and this can only promise to an even brighter time to come up with, especially in India. The Indian civil aviation industry is poised for great growth, and we can look forward to some interesting times ahead. Thank you.